Everyone. So thank you for coming to this session. This breakout is very exciting to talk about the new W3C chapter in New York Metro, which we have just launched during the summer of 2020. I'm going to talk a bit about how we get to create this new chapter and what is the future and also looking into the past. And so I hope you enjoy this session with me. And I would definitely want to hear from you what is important that you would like to see in a chapter, what we can do for you, how we can serve you better. So first, I just want to make an announcement that there will be a new Web Innovation Week, Web Innovation X event. It will be whole week. It will be November 16th to 22nd. Of course, it's going to be virtual, and there will be live events in the morning Eastern time, between 10 to 12 noon Eastern time. There will be live events every day. For the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, yes, we do have want to do stretch it for the whole week. For the Saturday of I believe is in 21st of November, there will be more of how to say a virtual event, not live but recorded, and there will be entertainment also scheduled for the 22nd, which is a Sunday, and also scheduled, but it's all pre-recorded for the weekend sessions. So I really welcome everybody who want to join the Web Innovation Week. It's of course hosted from New York City, virtual, but anybody in the world can join, and I intend to invite everybody on planet Earth to join our Web Innovation Week. So I want to introduce myself first, that I'm Rachel Yeager. I hate I actually I'm the chapter manager for the Web Innovation, actually the Web Innovation X, the W3C chapter. Web Innovation X is actually the umbrella where I use to promote the concept of the W3C chapter in New York Metro. So if you, we just created the WebInnovationX.com. That is where we will be recording our activities. It's still a newly work in progress, but we see that before the end of the year, the community structure in terms of how we want to roll out the different chapter activities will be more or less coming into shape, and also being able to be recognized in our social media channel. So a lot of exciting things to happen in this year, and also and I see that in the following year, 2021. So I just want to now go to talk a bit about the genesis of how we come about creating the W3C New York Metro chapter. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of someone very important in this whole path, how we have come to today, the W3C New York Metro chapter. Karen Myers is here, and she is the business lead for the North America and also Australia. And so she's the business leader for that, and I really she is really someone who is very important in this work that I'm doing. Of course, Alan Bird, who is the global business lead, he is also very instrumental and very encouraging towards the formation of a community, and I want to thank them for recognizing the importance of forming a W3C chapter, and also asking me to be the W3C evangelist back in 2018. And I also appreciate the fact that two of them have been really instrumental into looking in how the direction of the business community and also the technology community can benefit from all this activity. So I just want to say thank you, and also thank you again, Karen, for the IRC. All right, and so the genesis of the New York chapter actually it started back in 2018, and we have this notion about SYMPOSIUMX, and somehow I'm obsessed with the letter X, and X is means can means a lot of things. It can mean X factor. It can means a crossroad. It can mean a target that you are going forward with. So Symposium X actually was created with the notion of at that time I was wearing my cap as a W3C evangelist on financial innovation, and really looking into financial innovation on the web, and really looking into making expert panel discussion and also showcase um, and um, and showing the trends and strategy and implementation. So the first Symposium X that we have is actually in November 2018. And it's very encouraging because let me just go to the next slide so that you can. So Symposium X is about bringing communities together in financial innovation with thought leadership.
There's a lot of activity in the space around identity, authentication.
What our research shows is about a third of US people have a fintech app that they use today.
We are trying to create a better business model for the web, and as part of that, we're creating a new web standard, or promoting a new web standard called web monetization.
I make websites, mobile applications accessible for people with disabilities.
Technology should work for everyone, not just for some. And I think part of the work that we've done with the new web authentication standard is that's exactly the type of visibility and adoption and impact we need in the world.
Why I get up to go to work every day, the combination of a modern payment system and a modern method of data sharing can only enable the next round of innovation that will make what's been going on over the last few years look like nothing.
And it's the companies that are a part of W3C today and those that aren't. So we have about 90 companies that are the small 2 to 10 person kind of thing.
First, we want to build a trusted network of thought leaders, innovation advisory, and we also want to build an education and consultation.
Having different perspectives is how you create new things.
So what I just showed is a run through of all the Symposium X since 2018. And I believe, let me count, 4 or 5. We are going into the 6th Symposium X this fall. And it's unbelievable because I didn't thought that I will be consistent, right? Right from the start with the Symposium X, but definitely the plan is that for 2021 to have the spring, summer, and fall Symposium X. And later on, I will explain how we have actually grown into the notion of Web Innovation Week, that we want to formulate this notion of a Web Innovation Week with more than just Symposium X from the New York chapter. And it will, again, have this cadence of spring, summer, and fall. And winter we'll just celebrate. So that's the plan, all right? And it's wonderful for me to see a lot of the faces here. And so let me just go through the first Symposium X, as you can see, and let me just explain what some of the speaker. Of course, Jeff Jaffe was the first keynote to host our first Symposium X back in 2018 fall. We do have speakers from Google, and of course Ian Jacobs. Everybody know Ian Jacobs, and then and also from American Express, from Shopify, from the clearinghouse. So we have very excellent speaker right from the beginning. One of the things that we wanted to do right from the start, and I have very close conversation with Karen Myers, we have both decided that it's important for us to have the quality in this SYMPOSIUMX. So actually no one can pay to come to speak, but rather we will extend the invitation to really thought leaders in SYMPOSIUMX, and we also want to recognize both the W3C leaders, both technology or business leaders, and also we want to make it sure that when the participants come, they are truly in the midst of thought leaders and experts in that domain. So right from the start in 2018, I do receive, with a relatively unknown event, I already received a lot of solicitation that people want to speak at this SYMPOSIUMX. But we have kept to our principle to be excellent, to strive from excellence. So really, you just can't buy a seat to speak at this event. So having said that, I just want to run through the next event in 2019 spring. We invited Ubico, and also Consensus, and also WorldPay. And what was interesting with WorldPay as a keynote was actually 2 weeks before the major, the biggest merger and acquisition in payments. I believe that is still the biggest so far. I believe it's $35 billion. They were bought over by FIS. So it was just very interesting. Just 2 weeks before on 2019 spring SYMPOSIUMX, and that will pay make the biggest headline about the biggest merger and acquisition. So the SYMPOSIUMX in 2019 spring, we still focus on financial innovation. We talk about payments again, but we're focusing on security, privacy, and identity. And of course, I want to mention Ellen Bird, Wendy Salsa was among the speakers, and so was a very informative and of course a very productive meeting back in 2019 spring. Now, 2019 fall, it was a time that we recognized that we need to talk a bit more in terms of the business interests, and we move into the direction of where monetization. We talk about monetization, and we invited the CEO of Koi, and we also invited a lot of very interesting W3C chair, the standard, the working group chairs to speak in terms of privacy, identity, decentralization. So, and we also get into the topic of blockchain. And so things that are really in the trend and really, really of big interest as we observe in the industry. So the core value when I think about how we started with SYMPOSIUMX, we really have 3 ideas is actually what I started in explaining what SYMPOSIUMX is about. It's about community. We want to build the next generation emerging technologies and standard. Experts really thinking about the future who can talk about the future. And also business networking. So this is important for us to think about why we want a SYMPOSIUMX. So I'm going to go into the launch, which is now what happened in year 2020, and suddenly I we all experienced the pandemic, and suddenly we have the decision point to say whether we want to continue with SYMPOSIUMX, because I was so used to having a spring. Like in my mind, in the beginning of this year, 2020, I want to do a spring SYMPOSIUMX in April. So the preparation was laid out. The room was reserved. We actually have a very beautiful conference center on Wall Street, and I usually like to have fun with my participants and serving them nice hors d'oeuvre after the SYMPOSIUMX, and have some very nice networking with all the participants. Then suddenly the lockdown back in March in New York City. So I'm in New York. So we are making all the headlines back in the last few months, right? And the lockdown actually was a decision point, and I changed it really into a podcast. And I actually have very nice keynotes, and including from WorldPay, Steve Cole, who speak on security, and Regine Gilbert, and I also have a lot of like different experts who are speaking on web accessibility. So that turned into a podcast, and I actually launched the podcast and move towards the digital direction, and it's ironical because we are doing web innovation, or rather like focusing on financial innovation, but and now because of the pandemic, one of the very positive outcome is that actually using digital means, right, to really carry out what we want to talk about, is to promote thought leadership. Then back in, I believe it's in July, that Alan Bird actually approached me and asked me if I would want to host the W3C chapter in New York City. And of course, I said yes, and I felt intuitively that is actually a very timely move, because I feel that we need that kind of community presence more than ever because of what we are experiencing. And so I told him, I remember I wrote in the email, say that this is the time to do it now, like I want to do it. So so we signed the contract, MIT, W3C, so signed this contract, and then an agreement, right, actually, to how we're going to function this chapter. And I'm going to share with everybody some of how a W3C chapter, what it means, right, and there are formal obligations that we need to fulfill, and also how we carry out our activities. So the launch actually happened back in 2020 summer. So signed the agreement to have the W3, to host the W3C Metro chapter from my company, with my company Fortune Times Group. So I'm the founder and CEO of the consulting company Fortune Times Group, and so I agreed to host the W3C New York Metro chapter. And so in August 2020, so just 2 months ago, I really make sure that we launch it, and I just want to go through a few.
W3C is the web standards organization. We have what I think is a wonderful mission. Our mission is to lead the web to its full potential.
There was a time about actually 3.5, 4 years ago, the interchange of ideas you have between pure technology companies and pure industry companies, and how they come together to make the web better.
We have 400 member organizations. Member organizations are large companies, small companies, startups, government agencies, globally based, US, Europe, Asia, everywhere.
As I travel around the globe, I run into a lot of different models that people use for finance. Some people are very cash oriented, some people are very plastic oriented, other people are looking at non-traditional funding models, you have the unbanked, and I think all of those things are coming together over the next 3 to 5 years to come up with a truly global ecosystem of inclusion.
Much of the work for incubation happens in what we call community groups. Those are free. Anyone can participate. We have thousands and thousands of people participating worldwide in these community groups. So the web authentication is now a standard brought to us from FIDO Alliance and other members. That is now a standard. We're now working on additional features, and essentially it's to eliminate the passwords in the browser with two-factor authentication. We also are pleased to announce that just this week, verifiable credentials has gone to recommendation, the data model 1.0. And this is very interesting work. This is a brand new group that's just started. Again, came out of a community group where we incubate new technologies. This is a new kind of a decentralized identification system that's very exciting.
One of the things we all have to be thinking about is the challenges of information and misinformation. How do we vet what we're seeing online? How do we use those connections for good and restrict the ability for others to infiltrate that and use our connections against us?
Members certainly benefit. We are looking to do more of these kinds of events to bring people together, to have thought leadership conversations, facilities for really networking and meeting everyone and learning from each other. So that's our goal here today, not only for members, but others who might be interested in participating.
So you can see, everybody can see that I was drawing from the experience that we had back in 2018 and 2019. And with the W3C chapter, it's really about really formulating the leadership in the future of digital, in the future of the web, how to galvanize the community. In this case, the community, of course, is the New York Metro web community, how we're going to bring them together in this. So it's really, we would not have come to this phase without what we have learned in 2018 and 2019. So 2020 really is a time I really feel that I know it's strange that I say this, but I feel very blessed that with the opportunity that we can further move forward some of this leadership that we want to build. So I'm going to show you. Okay. So I'm going to show what this is mean in terms of the core value. And remember, just now I mentioned about SYMPOSIUMX, and we really are talking about community expert and networking. And we want to carry on the next step, which is AccelerationX, which is really looking into open innovation and also startup support. CertificationX is the notion about professional development and how we can have a professional development not only at the technology level, but also at the business level. How we can really move forward a technology into products, into services. And of course, the core value really in what we want to do. And I use the word WebInnovationX because as I mentioned, I like the letter X. And you can see I put all the X in all these things that we want to do. And in this 3 areas, SYMPOSIUMX, AccelerationX, and CertificationX, we really want to recognize leadership in business, technology, and innovation. We also want to carry a step forward, right? More than a W3C chapter, as in the W3C chapter, but really do some research into the social and economic impact of the web. And of course, a very timely topic about diversity and inclusion. And I must share with you that in the past, it has been really difficult for me to find a women speaker. And I must tell you, for 2 years, it's very difficult when I approach a women speaker and ask them to speak at SYMPOSIUMX. It's always a hesitation and very difficult. And I say that this is not going to continue. This is something that we can do, especially I feel that SYMPOSIUMX and WebInnovationX and me as a woman in technology and also in business, we got to help each other and also promote women and also diversity minority groups into how to tap onto this innovation pipeline. I, of course, looking into podcasts and new media. So it's something I just want to share. Is something I'm learning myself while I'm formulating the podcast and the different videos and all the things that you're seeing. It's all really newly come together. I'm not a media house. I'm not working as a media person, but I recognize that this is important in order to promote our thought leadership. So definitely a lot of effort also going into podcasts and new media videos, etc. And another thing I want to stress is that I really felt that when people come to SYMPOSIUMX and in the past 2 years when we are meeting in person, it's really quite intimate events. I'm not having this like big events, right, where everybody come in and you do not really know each other after the event. My own experience that after the event, I made a lot of friends, so a lot of people came and they enjoy it. And then they have good memory, like they have good feelings about, how they experience it. So one of the things I thought that is quite important is to have social events and also fun. I did that. I tried to do that ironically. I know that I've done that quite well in terms of my, because I know that some of you who know me, I like food, I like to eat. So I stress a lot, like I even serve champagne, as other, after the SYMPOSIUMX back in 2018 and 2019. And so I want to carry that one step further. And in 2020 summer, during the launch of the W3C chapter, I had an opportunity to actually use an event by the jazz blues singer Nina Blue, and I actually contributed that video also in the social event of TPAC to also support TPAC in this wonderful events. TPAC is for our web community. And so the jazz blues singer, actually I dedicate that and carefully selected the songs for including the rise and all these motivational songs to really acknowledge the difficult situation the entertainment industry is facing right now. And even now, and I think that's still going to face in 2021, this deep disruption in the media and entertainment industry. I mean, in the entertainment industry. And so, and I know that there's a lot of things that the web and innovation can really help in this community, for example, and so in many other communities in business in New York City. So the social events and the fun, I think that I just want to stress, I think that is very important. So this is a time that I actually would like to encourage you, if you would be so kind, to share your point of view. What is the most important for you when you come to a W3C chapter, what is the most needed that in your opinion. So if you can do it privately to me or to the whole group, I'm going to see whether I can access the chat. Yeah, I think I can. So so I just okay. So thank you, Jen, for saying that this is exciting. All right. So I want to make sure that we are making a very exciting W3C chapter in New York Metro. So I will be sending survey through social channels. So I actually have already dominated the WebInnovationX as a social handle in all the important social channel, including LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course Facebook and Instagram, etc., and of course Twitter. So if you want to provide your opinion after this event, please do reach out to me. I also have dominated. I'm the only Rachel Yeager in LinkedIn, and so and Rachel Yeager as in one word, and so you can reach me easily. And so please reach out to me if what is important for you as a W3C chapter, how we can serve you better, how we can make this exciting, how we can make innovation meaningful, and also that feeling that there's a support from the W3C itself, and also from the local chapter to really care about what you want to move forward in your agenda in terms of innovation and the web, making the web better, making making positive changes for the world, supporting our community who are suffering now because of the pandemic. How are we going to do all these things, all right, effectively? So again, please put in the chat what do you think is important for you. Is it the community, the experts' knowledge, the open innovation? Really, you may be a startup. You may want to have professional development. Everything else, all right? So I'm going to go to the next slide, all right? And I'm going to now show this is the launch that we invited
the
Zoom
presentation mode
CIO.
is that it's just like I was in the conference room standing in front of the screen, and you can do some interesting things, such as I can make myself a lot bigger.
So that was the video for the SYMPOSIUMX that we had back in August, the Web Innovation Week, and that we invited the CIO of Zoom, Harry Mosley, to speak with us. And what is the interesting point about his keynote, which is very exciting, and we'll be further sharing in a lot of different channels, including sharing on W3C website and on our chapter website as well, is about the notion about the future of work. And of course, Zoom in this short period since August has also, of course, won a lot of recognition, and also they have further come up with a lot of like interesting notion, including virtual reality, and also different ways of portraying, shaping the future of work, which is an interesting point. And again, there are many people who are working very hard in terms of the web innovation, and definitely in terms of without the web, we would not have survived so well in this pandemic. I want to mention a few people also without mentioning their names, but I will be sharing in my social channel. I have invited a lot of advisory. I formulate the advisory council, and through this, I make sure that we have a voice also for diversity and inclusion. So we actually came up with this idea of reading poems and also reading how it feels, because we were in a lockdown back in even back in July, and I believe back in August also we were still in the lockdown phase in New York City. So that the expression of what Web Innovation X or web innovation means to us, what the web means to us. And I express the thinking about Anne Frank, you know, like how how Anne Frank would have felt uh, if uh, if if she had the web, right? And as much as we may be complaining about what we are feeling at this moment, but definitely the notion of web and also the innovation, how that can move us further forward, right? So definitely the Web Innovation Week and also the launch of the W3C New York Metro chapter is actually a timely event to capture that moment where we are thinking about uh, the future of work, and also we are not really celebrating, but we can't because it's in the midst of the pandemic. But we felt I feel that it gave a sense of how to say, we are very lucky, right, to be in this time, and with the web, with W3C setting the standard, making sure everything, you know, like that we have a very sound pathway for innovation. So that is the feeling. It may not be a big like uh, a big celebration with firework, but it's a big celebration in terms of our sentiment and how we want to encourage everybody in this community. So it's in that context that we set up the W3C chapter in New York City. So again, I need to put this into your attention. The Web Innovation Week is going to happen again in November 4. And remember, the cadence of Web Innovation Week is going to be spring, summer, fall, spring, summer, fall going forward. And so this fall and it's coming soon, and we are now confirming all the speakers and all the participants, and we'll be doing a huge promotion in the next 2 weeks. I'll be sending a lot of email campaigns and making sure everybody knows about this and can join us. So I just want to remind everybody of the Web Innovation Week, which is November 16 to 22nd. So please look out for this and sign up. Now, I just want to go back into what we talked about, like strategic activities and roadmap. I don't know whether anybody at this point has any questions, and I'm not too used about like not asking the audience to contribute, but if there's any question, please do feel free to interrupt me, all right? But then there is also, I just want to go back to what we do as a chapter. We definitely are creating a point of presence of W3C within the New York Metropolitan, and also to build up and enhance the web community and to assist W3C member and to help attract new W3C members. Of course, I am sharing here a strategy map that I actually aligned using the a breakdown of how we see it benefiting our customer and also how we grow internally. And basically, that is definitely emphasis in terms of what we have in SYMPOSIUMX, Certification X, and Acceleration X. So this is a rough timeline that I didn't touch up again. That was back in June, July. I believe it's July that I did this and I did not change it. So this is a roadmap of activities that we see that we have already launched. So this is a check mark. I check it. Okay, I launch it, which is in summer. There's some celebration, and then I like to engage at this moment is to engage the community to come and to participate in our activities, and to also strengthen our infrastructure for the community, just like just like we need some form and shape in terms of physical structure, the digital structure in terms of a community platform. That is something that I want to build up during this stage 2 phase, where I want to engage all of you to help to come together and to participate. And of course, we are also working on stage 3, which is rewarding our participants because we want to recognize all the wonderful members and W3C members, and also non-members who have contributed in web innovation. So we want to do things, different types of events to acknowledge, to help everybody to enjoy our community activities. So let me see if there's okay. So I think that I'm going to stop here, right? If there's any questions, maybe I can ask if there's any questions, or maybe I can stop the recording, Vivian.